pay a fee, and it's a private jet.
So it's probably like outrageously expensive, right?
Well, I don't know if it's outrageously expensive, but it's not cheap for sure.
Yeah.
He's a salesman for vice president of sales for a software company. So
Nice.
Yeah,
they
that's
haven't
the
done it in
airline
quite a
you
while. They
use.
went with the Striker, so they have a minivan that they cart around in.
Nice.
That's the airline you use when you are specifically taking your dog on vacation and you have
Right.
enough money to take your dogs on vacation.
Yeah, there was a small company, I forget it was called, it was like Pet Air or something kind
Yeah.
of like Pet Air or something like that. And I was so excited for it, but the pandemic basically killed it before it ever really launched. And they just never took off. It was, for 2 years, their website was like coming soon and then nothing.
Gone.
Yeah. But oh well. What's going on in your world, Christine?
Oh, look. Everyone look.
Look.
It's the
Ooh. Nice logo.
Okay.
It's so considerate of you to include my name and Caitlin's name in there too.
There you
Oh,
go.
nice. I'm glad you liked it. But yeah, we just it's moving, and my website is in design right now, and business cards, and
Awesome stuff.
doing my
Hell
first
yeah.
big AI speech next week to people outside of my normal people that I talk to about AI.
Wow.
Cool.
Maryland Bar Association of all places.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to
They
talk
more-
to some attorneys about AI.
So are they more interested in using AI or more interested in regulating
That's
AI?
my part. I'm on a panel that's talking about how to use AI in your practice.
Okay.
So we're focused on mostly, using generative AI to design documents.
Mhm. That's cool. Yeah, I've been playing around over the last couple of days with ChatGPT 4 and their new uploadable
Yeah,
document stuff where it can work with images and things, and I've been pretty impressed. I put
it's
together
pretty nice.
Yeah, I sent it a couple of screenshots of slides of a deck that I put together internally about gifting use cases for customer marketing and customer success. And it was basically like, take a look at this slide and, let me know what you would do to either rearrange it or add to it, or like, are there any use cases that I missed? And it gave a really good analysis of stuff, which is impressive.
We built one today in Rob's meeting. That he was playing around with some of it yesterday, and so we were playing around with the education, building out some training for some Marketo stuff, and how we could leverage it to build templates or things like CS plans and stuff, success plans and
Yeah.
onboarding plans and templates, and verticalize or segment the content more easily than what we can do now, right? Where it's just time consuming. If you're dealing with 7 verticals and 3 breakdowns by ARR, then it's challenging to customize or tailor the content to those different groups in all of the permutations, right? But using the ChatGPT stuff, we can create the baseline that says this is what our offering is, and then let the tool go ahead and personalize the content along the lines of all of those segments and the CS team member with the a personality or tone based on the CS team member.
That's pretty cool.
Now, doesn't that sound exciting?
Yeah, absolutely.
It does sound exciting.
Who's your furry friend? Your dog is so cute.
Thank you. She never does this, but she decided to climb up on my lap today.
Oh, cute. My goodness.
Pomeranian, and she doesn't have any teeth, which is why her tongue hangs out like that.
Oh. How old is she?
She is 10. So she's an old baby. but heard you talking about dogs on private jets. Needed to remind me that she was here and available for travel.
Oh my gosh.
Usually she'll only do
my
this if
gosh.
it's like
Like,
thundering.
his derpy tongue is just the most adorable thing.
It's like it kills me. And she didn't used to be like that. Like she had normal, her tongue stayed in her mouth, and we went to pick her up after her surgery. And I said to the vet, I'm like, is this temporary? And she's like, no, she'll probably always be like that. I'm like, well, we love her anyway. But it is like some of the pictures are just so much funnier with her tongue hanging out.
I think we'd all look funnier if we had our tongue hanging out. That could be a new like LinkedIn personal branding approach where you just do selfies with your tongue hanging out. Okay. That's
There we
weird.
Oh, I should take the picture, post it on LinkedIn and say, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody. Lauren is on to share with us some ways to have fun with customers. She did an impromptu call back with Influitive, maybe closer to the beginning of the year, I think, and it was very popular. So I was like, hey, come in and talk to us. And yeah, if anybody has questions, go ahead and ask. I see Adrian Speyer. I know him from community work, and this is, I think, your first call with us. So yeah, we just talk about things and start out sometimes with a topic, other times we don't, and see where it goes.
I always miss this call, but for whatever reason, the gods decided to cancel all my meetings for the rest of Friday. So I was like, I'm free.
Nice.
I can make this call. Yay.
Awesome.
Well, I hope it lives up to your standards.
I'm just happy to be here. I don't have any standards.
Oh, please. Yeah, I was actually prepared to talk about ChatGPT and basically go over like the presentation from Customer XCon, but I'm happy to talk about improv and kind of bringing fun and entertainment into customer programs as well. I just don't have a deck prepared.
Oh, wow. Did I totally mess that up or what? Okay. You do you.
No.
Whatever you want to do today.
So we can take a vote by a show of hands. Who wants to talk about ChatGPT and generative AI?
I do love ChatGPT. Let's do it.
Okay, 4. All right, so it looks like half and half. That's not really helping here. Okay.
I can be the
Oh, yeah.
deciding vote. I'll do like ChatGPT too. So 5 to
Okay, cool. If we can somehow tie this into to improv and we're entertaining content, I'm happy to do that too, or to speak about it at another time. Or you can also message me privately. I do workshops about using improv skills for customer-facing roles, and it's one of the things that I love to do as my sort of side hustle, but also one of my favorite hobbies. So, go through my 8,000. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. It can be a little complicated because I usually have something like 80 open tabs. So I know that most of you are already pretty familiar, but just assuming that this audience that I was initially presenting to were pretty new to generative AI. They may have dabbled in it a little, but didn't really have a firm grasp of it. I just wanted to kind of set the stage by saying, well, there's a lot of talk. Where's my clicker? There we go. That, okay, generative AI is going to take over the world. The computers are coming after our jobs. They're coming after our lives. They're going to ruin everything. But I think that's probably pretty apocalyptic thinking. More likely, we're going to end up partnering with AI to get a lot of our work done more efficiently. And this is going to end up creating more free time within our world that, granted, within a work environment, we're probably going to need to do other things. So it's not like we're going to have, extended vacations or 3-hour work days or anything like that. But it will enable us to become a lot more efficient with what we're doing so that we can get more done within the course of a day. And that ultimately is going to create more value for what it is we do. So Christina, who I think many of you have met, one of my favorite quotes from her, think of ChatGPT as the smartest intern you've ever had. I think it's a great analogy. It's one of those systems where it has a lot of great answers, can give you a lot of detail, but you have to make sure that you have very firm guardrails around what it is you're asking ChatGPT to do. Like a very enthusiastic intern who wants to impress you, they may also make up stuff that sounds good. And so, like that intern, if you are getting citations from something that you're asking ChatGPT to do, you need to check all of those links to make sure that they're actually real. There was a case a couple of months ago where there was an attorney who used ChatGPT to analyze some sort of case that he was going to argue, and it turned out that he used essentially ChatGPT hallucinations of cases that didn't actually exist. He did not do his homework on that, and then basically got called out and then fired as a result of that.
And
Yeah.
sanctioned. He was sanctioned as well, which means he had to pay money.
Oh
yeah,
man.
he had to pay money too.
Yeah, so don't do that. It's a great tool as a starting point. You can have it really reduce a lot of the work that you're doing, but you really do need to fact check and don't rely on it to do everything for you. You still have to complete the work that it's there. I'd say if you have some really good prompts out of the gate, you're probably going to get around 80% of the way there. But you still need to edit it. You still have to put your own voice in there. And if there are citations or statistics or quotes that are used, you need to really make sure that those are real. Just kind of showing this landscape of all these different ways that AI is being applied. I pulled this graphic a few weeks ago, so probably within the 3 weeks since I downloaded this thing, it's now probably twice as big at least, of all of the different tools for every imaginable thing, with generation of text and video, code creation, voice to text. We've actually been using a couple of tools recently where you record your voice on a bunch of different things and then you type in scripts, and it'll basically use your voice to record those scripts, which we've been using really well for our customer training. So we could basically put in the name of our customers in there, just slot them in, but we don't have to create 18 different versions of the same video just so we can get the customer's name in there. So it's a really useful way to get some of that mass customization out there as well. Mary, I know you've been amazing at identifying and talking about all these different tools. So please jump in if there's something that you see here, you're like, oh yeah, I've used that tool. That's really awesome. Or something that's not here, you're like, oh, we need to check this out. Definitely jump in.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of anything specific that you're looking to use or kind of create something out of, I like Cast Magic, but I also bought the LTD for it back several months ago, so I get 600 minutes a month to do on there, and it you just upload your audio. It's supposed to be for podcasts, but you upload your audio and it gives you the transcript, a whole bunch of prompts that are templates, and then a chat to chat with that episode. But I recently got Airgram.io, I think it is. It's the one that's recording this call.
Okay.
And that is very similar, but it's kind of it'll go into your call with you and then do the transcription. It does a performance thing. It does a report that tells you pain points, action steps, questions asked, all of these things in a summary. And then they have a little hidden feature where it also turns every call into a chat. So you can go in and say, what were all the questions lists that were in this call and things like that. And that I'm using to replace a lot of what I was doing on Cast Magic, even though it was free. I use it to replace grain.com, where I did a lot of the video stuff, and that would just give me my transcript. I can now do that on Airgram. And Otter. Otter was just you can use it immediately to start recording a call and wherever you are. And you can do that with Airgram too. So went from $50 a month to $18 a month. Nice. But as you know, these tools will just keep evolving and getting better. So I like to play with a lot of them and just see what I can make up, especially if it's like videos for YouTube or things like that. My pastor at church gets super excited when I like give him a transcript of something or make some shorts out of one of his sermons. But yeah, if anybody has anything specific they're looking for, just let me know and I'm sure I can find it.
That's super cool. I would love something that shortens the steps, and I'll go into this in a little bit more detail later in the presentation. But ChatGPT has been really, really useful in helping condense the time to getting case studies out. And what my process has basically been is I'll do a customer interview over Zoom and then send the transcript from that recording. Get the transcript from that recording by sending it to rev.ai. Take that transcript, put it in Word, swap out the names so that it's anonymized and we don't have to worry about proprietary data. And then I'll upload that into ChatGPT and then give it several different prompts about how I want to see it formatted as a case study within, a certain paragraph structure. I want the customer to be the hero. I want to pull quote here and things like that. And it'll basically condense this process that typically took up to a month into a few hours.
Yeah, that I think if you took like Airgram, for example, to listen in on your calls, it has an export feature that automatically exports things to Google, Google Documents. And then there is a tool for Google Documents where you can add ChatGPT right into the document. So you would have to do the switching out of the name itself, but it would make the rest of it pretty short.
What I also found is the data upload feature from ChatGPT. Like, recently we're doing that survey that you saw, right, Lauren, the swag one. And I'm able to go take all the results, throw it into ChatGPT and say, write me an executive summary. And that was me.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I mean, I did some pretty cool stuff this week. I took the course that I built on Maven and some feedback from the first couple of calls I've done, and I had it rewrite the whole syllabus and everything and based on my course, like a new landing page and stuff. And I was like, holy cow, this is so much more quality than I thought it would be. But I have not played with any kind of like database content
the database
yet.
stuff is crazy. I mean,
obviously,
like I'm really careful, obviously, with our community too. Like I don't put people's email but I mean, you can put like their seniority level and other demographic information that's not identifiable, and you can get a picture. Like you would spend a couple of hours, right, with Excel formulas trying to figure that out. With ChatGPT does it in 10 minutes.
And the visualizations are really good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die when I play with that. I don't know if I'd be able to come down off that cloud.
Is that like in the paid? Is that in the paid version? Do you have to get? Yeah.
It's worth it though. I mean, honestly,
so worth it.
It sounds like it.
It's the cheap paid one, Christina. Just the
$20 a month.
The $20 a month one includes all of that. The enterprise level, again, way more expensive and has a couple of lockable functionalities around it for APIs and stuff. But the $20 a month version has some pretty cool visualizations and the new stuff that Lauren was just talking about.
There are a lot of tools too, Christina, that if you can't pay for ChatGPT per month, like some people can't right now, go look on, like, there's an AI for that or one of those AI tool websites, and you can a lot of times sign up for something for free where they already have the ability to do something, and now you can run your data through it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. The applications for that. Wow.
Yeah, it is super cool. I've used it when we did our large product survey. So a lot of the survey questions were multiple choice and ratings and things like that, but a lot of them would have follow-up open fields. And so it was really great at taking these hundreds of open field responses and then summarizing them and grouping them and finding the themes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm seeing huge success having for customer education with using it to build out assessment questions, right? Like when you're taking a course and it halfway through it asks you 3 comprehension questions,
Mhm.
right? Or building certification exams
Yeah.
to create the questions, and particularly to create distractors, because as people who have to build those things all the time, that's just the most hateful job ever. And so now we can go ahead and generate the questions themselves if we want, and then let the system generate the distractors, and they come through much more professional. They take way less time.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that was a big deal when I was at user testing, setting up certain screening tests, because you had people who just wanted to take the test. And so in order to keep them from just clicking, we would throw in fake data, like, which of the following have you purchased in the last, 3 weeks? And it would be like enterprise software, groceries, a clown tent, and you're like, okay, if they click on that, they're clearly just, just trying to get in. And it was a good way to weed people out, but you had to basically manually look through all of those responses to be like, okay, this one's done. So yeah, this could be helpful.
I didn't mean to go on a tangent though, but in your slide prior where you were saying about ChatGPT as being a really good intern. But I'm wondering though, because I mean, with their GPT that they just launched, I mean, technically, and I just did this on actually a website, you could upload a book of, not that I did it, but you could, I know Laius did it with her community book, but you could upload a book about UX design principles. And you could say, go look at this website and tell me how to improve it. And you could probably get expert level UX recommendations from it. Or, I've been playing with it for some hobby type things and able to like, if you had like your own work, like if I want to upload my own book, or obviously you don't want to take non-copyrighted material, right? But I do think that it may get a bit better than just a straight intern, because if it's able to go and read books and have guidelines outside of the ChatGPT web, like you were saying, like when you take a case study and you throw it in, if like Seth Godin was to load all his books into it and then create the Seth Godin AI, right? Then you're able to kind of basically talk with Seth. Like I could not see that happening very shortly.
Yeah, we talked about.
I think that's possible now.
Yeah, they just didn't they just announce like you can build your own GPT?
No, I was playing with it. I've made an AI CMO that I've loaded a whole bunch of stuff in.
That's super cool.
And I said, hey, can you look at our website and tell us how you would make it better? And then the CMO gave me it's okay though, because all the ideas we've already covered, but it was I was joking with my marketing manager that, hey, we did a good job because our list covered all the things that were there, but it basically went through it and said, here are some things that I would improve. And so kind of interesting.
I wonder as it continues to evolve, what that impact might have on the average tenure of a CMO in SaaS, seeing as they're already pretty small.
Well, I mean, hey,
I'm just thinking like,
if you want to try it out,
know
here it is. I threw it. It's not publicly available, but
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, there are chat bot like tools you can use now to like upload tons of documents and like videos from YouTube. Like you can take a channel from YouTube and start talking to the channel. All of these. I haven't done all of them.
Well, I'm just wondering.
It is
sorry.
Kind of crazy.
Well, I guess,
no, go ahead.
No, I guess my thought was, do you think that, like right now people are saying, treat it like a smart intern. And I'm just wondering if that as well might be temporary is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. No, it is. I think it is temporary because they say, I've heard that like it's just going to keep doing better and better. So I do question like, so where does that leave us? But I think there's a lot still to be said for the human interaction. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And yeah, we get into that too, but just as a summary, and this is still evolving too. I almost have to update this daily just to see, to make sure that everything is aligned with the evolution of this tool. But just quick summary, It can analyze data, it can create copy, it can help you with strategy and brainstorming, it can refine your language. And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail to show how you can make it fun. What it can't do is protect your IP. On the free version, it cannot produce graphics. It can't really produce it on the paid one either, but it basically can use graphics and help interpret them and give advice based on that. It still right now cannot reliably cite sources. It does have a tendency to hallucinate. More importantly, for customer marketers like us, it is not human. It can approximate human conversations, but it is not going to show real empathy. It's not going to connect with your customers in a really, person-to-person meaningful way. It's not going to pick up on subtext. So if you're talking to a customer and you might have it on your agenda that you want to really push this new feature that your company is coming out with, and that's really where you want to guide the conversation, but you're talking to this customer and then suddenly they burst into tears because their mom was just diagnosed with something awful, and that's when, as the human, you are not talking about your feature that day. Like, you are talking to this other human being about the crisis that's going on in their life, and the business stuff can come later. And the AI isn't going to be able to pick up on that. And so this is where, when you have these great tools, you still need to really fall back on your humanity and what's going to bring to the table something that is never really, or hopefully never, going to really be duplicated through AI.
That's a good point. The other day, my kids and I were stuck in the car for a half hour. And so I started playing with Amazon Music. I found Wow of the World, or Wow to the World of Wow, which is like a family podcast. And the most recent podcast on there was about these kids turning a ventriloquist dummy into, like, using AI to implant into this ventriloquist dummy.
That is so creepy. I'm sorry, but like
a program.
Scared the heck out of me.
A program. And it was so funny because they were trying to get it to laugh at the right times, and they struggled with it a lot, but it was really cute because it explained AI to kids in a fun way that even my husband was like, "Oh, wow, that's what it can do."
Oh, interesting. There was a South Park episode where they had Funny Bot that was supposed to be like the robotic stand-up comic, and it was absolutely terrible and got booed off the stage. I wonder if they were to update that episode, because it was a few years ago, like what the improved AI enhanced Funny Bot could do.
See, like that's kind of where I'm not sure about stuff. Like, for example, I would love to see an AI upload all of George Carlin's material and then have George Carlin do a 2024 version.
The watermelon?
Of the words you can't say?
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a lot of debate on, the ethical nature of it, but then at the same time, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's also, that's a really good point about, like, people who are dying and passing away. Like, I mean, I can see people try to use this to, like, replicate some of their personal, thoughts and things like that, to be able to talk to it later.
I mean, that whole TV show Upload is basically that, where the person's uploading their consciousness into this VR world, and all of the things that happen as a result, and wacky hijinks that ensue as a result.
Oh boy,
yeah,
I've not heard of that. Okay, then.
Yeah, and by the way, it's also happening at the moment. You can, I remember there was a story about a woman whose dad had passed away, and I think they had, like, all her voice was replicated by 11 labs, and there's some psychologists actually that are quite concerned about the potential for people not being able to let go and move on because of.
Well, we already have that.
Yeah, but making it even harder.
Well, then you can talk to your AI therapist in order to help with your inability to move on because of AI.
Oh boy. We're getting a little too dark for a Friday afternoon.
Sorry. Okay, so we can quickly go through this. I asked ChatGPT, okay, if you're a customer marketing and advocacy person, how can you use this to advance your career? And we've already discussed a lot of these. It'll help with market research, content generation, helps you sort through a lot of data and get insights from that. It can help you create and refine your customer surveys. So if you're not a trained researcher, it can help with best practices. So that way you're getting better data from your surveys. It can give you suggestions of software packages that you can use that will help in your job. It can give you ideas for programs and content that would feed those programs. Helps you optimize your email campaigns, come up with ideas of ways that you can better engage with your customers so that they can be more adept at using your product and then eventually drive loyalty, and can also help you with your skills development as well. So if you can figure out where there might be gaps in your own knowledge, it can suggest different courses that you can take or books that you can read in order to help you stay on the cutting edge of the field. So what I was looking to do here, excuse me just a sec, to kind of give the real world example. So in early September, I launched Alice's customer community as a pilot called the Alice Gifting Gurus. And I used ChatGPT in basically every stage of that development. So in order to get approval for the platform itself, we use Influitive. I had to basically put together a business case that was going to show very, very solidly what the ROI of investing in a community platform was going to do. And I used ChatGPT with a couple of prompts to help me put together a solid business case. And this is where it was giving me citations that I had to check to make sure that they were real about the value of community, typical ROIs, different use cases, any quotes from very, very well-known business people about the importance of building community. Adrian, actually, one of yours came up in there too. So, and then basically used that to build out my pitch deck for the executive team that eventually got the approval so that we could buy the platform. And then once we were in the negotiating processes with Influitive to get the platform, it helped me with coming up with the name for the community, giving a series of parameters that we wanted. I wanted alliteration. I wanted something that ties into the gifting theme. I wanted something that was easy to abbreviate. So we call it AGG or GG if we're just going to use gifting gurus in our discussions. I then asked it to give me some key talking points so that way when I evangelize the community across the different stakeholders of the company, to keep in mind what was going to be most important to them and how I can get them on board and bought in, so that way everyone feels like they have skin in the game in the building and success of the program. Once I got that pilot set up and we launched it, it helped me organize the different content that I was going to do. I already had a pretty good idea of how I wanted to organize that, but it was always good to be able to have that, kind of double checking of, okay, well, here's the way that I've typically done it. Is there anything that you would recommend that would be different? And it did come up with some really interesting suggestions. Helped me find different ways that I could both segment and prioritize the different customer groups. And I'd say the most valuable one was I wanted to have a 7-email drip campaign. So we would send out that initial invitation, and then if they didn't accept, a reminder 2 days later, and then a week later, and then 2 weeks later, and then 3 weeks later, and then 6 weeks later. And I wanted something that all had the same theme, but that didn't sound too repetitive and could also be as tailored as possible. And it really helped with that. As the community started to really take more shape, as we have more people joining, I have to come up with new content every day. I'm usually looking to add somewhere between 2 and 5 new challenges every day. And I don't get a whole lot of input from other folks because they're all busy. And so this has been really helpful in getting some of those ideas of how I can really quickly create new content. And it helps me analyze, where there might be some issues and what are possible solutions to help fix them. Now, as our community grows, I'm going to continue to use it for troubleshooting, helping with those more tailored campaigns so we can drive re-engagement for folks who might have dropped off, enhanced engagement for people who are baseline active but not really doing very much, and then ways to really help up-level the advocacy from people who are active. And as I've mentioned previously, it's been super, super helpful with case studies. Can you hear my dog? Can you hear Molly barking in the background? She's sleep
A
little
little
bit.
bit.
She's
It's not
sleep
distracting
barking. I
now.
don't want to wake her up, but she's been through a lot. So bear with me and her. So we talk a lot about prompts, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of examples of prompts that I've used. In general, the more specific that you can get and the more tailored, the better it understands what you're asking it to do. And you can also ask it to tell you what additional information it needs in order to generate the output. So when it came to naming the community, this was the prompt that I used for that. I need a name for my new customer community. The community is geared toward admins of Alice. Give me 10 suggestions, have the names short, have them be related to gifting and use alliteration or puns. And then,
Lauren,
yes.
Kyle had a question, and I can't find the thing to raise my hand as the host, which I don't know if that just doesn't exist or what. For things like building a business case or drafting a case study from interview notes, would you consider templatizing your GPT prompts?
Yes, I have done that. I just have to dig into my files of where they are. One of the things that I do in my role at Alice is I send out a weekly Tip Tuesday email, and once a month I have usually one of those topics be different ChatGPT prompts that can be used for different subject headings for gifting, or different categories, or different suggestions for gifts for a specific industry or a specific type of recipient. So yeah, I can't do that right now, but I'm happy to look them up, and I can send them when I can.
Cool.
Yeah, and just for the last example, I also found it really useful for contracts. So for example, when we got the contract with Influitive, it was this, we were looking for a standard T&C that we wanted to use, and the one that they gave us was like 15 pages long. And it was really good boilerplate stuff, but it was a lot of text, and it was written in legalese. And so what was super useful was this prompt, where I basically uploaded the whole thing, summarize it for me, write it to a 5th grade reading level while retaining the main points, and then ask me if there anything else that I need to know before generating it. And then we took that rewritten T&C that was a lot easier to understand, and that's what we put in front of our customers. So that way it wouldn't be overwhelming and scary for them to have to agree to the T&C before getting into the community.
That's a good point. I recently was working on terms and conditions for a new community this week, and I didn't understand part of the terms and conditions that we were looking at. So I put it in ChatGPT to have it explain it to me.
Yes. Exactly. I would love to hear what some of those conversations with lawyers are going to look like, because they make a lot of money writing obscure and difficult to understand copy. So
That's true.
I'm doing a lot of
the
their
same
hard
thing
work.
when we built the one for the Thought Industries community. I gave the traditional template of T's and C's to our legal team, and they went through it and generated their version of it. And then I sent it to ChatGPT and said, now make this simple.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sent it back to legal and said, can I use this instead?
Mm-hmm.
And they said yes. And they made a couple of edits, but they let it slide. So
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's super
it
helpful.
worked really well.
Yeah.
That's an industry in all its own. Making legalized human.
Yes, making it human is a huge thing. I've also found it really useful for helping our CSM team. So we have customers across different industries that some of them are pretty niche. And what I've worked on with them with ChatGPT is a prompt that'll basically say, I'm about to have a call with name of company. Give me a brief summary of what the company does, how it makes money, and the top 3 concerns as an employee of that company I would have.
What?
And it gives you a nice little succinct dossier of essentially who you're talking to, so you can at least have some kind of baseline level of competence in your conversation with them, so that you can get through some of the the mucky stuff and really get more to the heart of conversations with a voice that's a lot more credible.
Wow, that would be really good for job interviews.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally used it for ChatGPT for job interviews. I can send you the prompts, Mary.
Sure, yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to see them.
Mary, you need to look at the video of this guy who had no background in mechanical engineering and was interviewing for a job in mechanical engineering and plugged the whole job description into GPT and was transcribing the call in real time and plugging in the questions that the interviewer was asking him into GPT and answering them in real time with GPT. It was insane.
Did he get the job?
I can't remember what happened. I can't remember what happened with the outcome of it, but it was one of those videos where it was like, there's no way this is real. And you can see it, like he's recording himself, the screen and the computer. And it's crazy that just hit the language they're using. And he's clearly like acting as if he knows what he's talking about. But it's amazing.
Oh my
I
God.
think this would be an amazing reality show. I mean,
Yeah,
not for a job like,
cardiothoracic
cardiothoracic surgeon or anything like that, but, low danger roles. I think it would be very interesting to have someone totally unqualified, relying entirely on ChatGPT to do something for a day.
Yeah, I think this guy was totally just doing it for internet clout, which was why it was like entertaining and funny, but it was just crazy that if he's doing it, somebody else is doing it to really actually get the job. So it's
it would be so easy to do that too, because I mean, it's super easy. It would be so easy to do that. Yeah.
There you go.
You should do a course using ChatGPT to overcome imposter syndrome. By learning how to be a real imposter.
Oh, I'll take it.
There you go. So just wanted to kind of dispel a couple of myths that people have about ChatGPT, that you can easily pinpoint something that's coming out of generative AI because it sounds boring and robotic. And I'm just here to basically give this as an example that no, that's not true. So yeah, talk to me entirely in Gen Z slang, be really over the top about it, and then it spits out this, like, oh my God, yes, time to slate this convo with some lit Gen Z slang, hunty. So spill the deet spam, what's the 411? We stand a trendy chat, So I've been basically playing with different types of archetype voices with ChatGPT for a while, partially as a way to augment the study that I do for improv. So my improv team, one of the long form games that we do is an extended film noir. And so I can take big swaths of copy and upload it to ChatGPT and then say, how would you say this if you were a 1940s gangster in a film noir movie? And it will basically spit out in that voice. And then it really helps learn, how to speak like that on stage. And I've done that with Mid-Atlantic. I've done that with like heavy Boston accents, New York accents. It's really helpful even with language translation, where you can paste something and say, okay, now can you spell this out phonetically so that I know how to pronounce it correctly? It's been really, really helpful that way. And so what I'm really just trying to get to the point here is the only limitation that you really can have in what type of material comes out of ChatGPT is your own imagination. If you give it enough creativity in the prompt, you will get really interesting stuff coming out. I'd love to hear from you if you've ever done something like this, where you were really trying to be over the top or bring in some kind of interesting new type of voice to
I think you might remember this, but I took our first master class from Ashley Ward, and in Cast Magic. So at the Cast Magic has a community of people where they're trying all these different prompts. They're coming up with different prompts and then they share them, and then the company puts them into the platform so that you can select them and add them as a template and things like that. And somebody put in, summarize this episode into a Dr. Seuss style book and make it like XYZ long. And it was so cute and like spot on. I don't have it now because I moved the episode into another workspace, but oh my gosh, it was so cute. And
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
used a little bit of it just to send her and be like, hey, I thought this was cute and you'd like to hear it. But yeah, it's fun to play with if you can add that creativity.
Definitely. I've had really great luck with it for various themes for email campaigns. So I did one that was a Beyonce theme, and so it would weave in Beyonce song titles into the copy. I did, and then I basically said once it came out with a really, really good one, I was like, okay, cool, now make it Taylor Swift. Okay, now make it Michael Jackson, and it did, and so it's great. You don't need to be an expert on pop culture. You just have to know enough that you can ask for the right prompt, and it'll basically plug and play that stuff right in. And it's great. It really helps with marketing campaigns too. Um, Especially when you're looking for ideas and you have to do something on a regular basis, like my Tip Tuesday emails. Like I've done Karate Kid themes, Stranger Things. I'm basically just listing all the shows that I watch. I did a South Park one. But just ways that you can kind of tie into the cultural zeitgeist is a nice way that you can capture people's attention, and you don't need to be on top of every pop culture thing going on. Just know enough for the reference, and then it can basically do the rest for you. Anyone know the answer to this?
Big Bang Theory. Andrew says South Park. I say Big Bang Theory.
Any other guesses?
Simpsons.
Simpsons?
The Office.
Right.
That makes
Andrew
sense.
got it. It was South Park. The entire episode was about ChatGPT, how Stan was trying to use it to have heart-to-heart conversations with Wendy because he didn't want to get into the emotional stuff, and then it basically spiraled from there. And yeah. So just some ideas. We talk about your typical marketing activities, just some, a little bit out there suggestions of ways that you can use ChatGPT because it can do that. I've had it do rap battles before. Content in the style of Adrian. I know you mentioned that before with George Carlin. I would love to see it, do the George Carlin type thing, pop culture references. You can have it do things formatted like a script. I've done essentially movie scripts for not an entire 2-hour movie, but if I were going to record a film short for a commercial for some kind of product that we're doing, can you do that? And it'll actually write a script, which can be really, really helpful as well. So just some overall tips and tricks that we've all kind of discussed before. Be as detailed as possible. The more you give in, the more tailored the output is going to be to what you're looking for it to do. You can ask it to ask questions before generating. So if there's anything that you may have left out, it can point that out to you so it can help you refine its own prompts. Thinking about tone, themes, audience are all different ways that you can get very, very detailed and tailored output based on what you're looking to do. Protect your IP. Less of an issue if you have some of these proprietary AI things where everything is kind of part of a closed circuit, but if you're using ChatGPT just alone, you need to check what your company policies are and kind of make the assumption that even though it's unlikely, your data can be seen by other people if they're using the right prompts. And so one workaround that I mentioned previously is if I'm going to be using ChatGPT to create a case study for me, I take the names of the company and the names of the people out, and I just replace it with like Acme or Joe Schmo, and then have it write the case study, and then I put the names back in later. Iterate and edit. You don't need to redo every prompt. If it gives you 5 paragraphs and you like 4 of them, tell it to rewrite the 3rd paragraph in a different way. And that way you can still retain a lot of the good stuff without having to start over. And there are a couple of obvious AI tells. This may change as it evolves, but I've seen that every time I've asked it to write me an email, it starts every flippin' email with, "I hope this email finds you well." So if you happen to see that in any inbound emails that are coming to you from a BDR, you can probably guess that they used an AI to generate that. So ultimately, this is a really fantastic time-saving tool, but it's not a replacement for the humanity that you bring to the table and the work that you do. So when you think about the time that you can save with this, how are you going to use the rest of that time in a way that only you as a human can do, that is going to bring value to the company and bring value to your life? Does this mean that you now have an additional hour that you can reach out one-to-one with some of your customers and connect with them better? Does it give you more time to research? Does it give you more time to evangelize your work across your organization so that way you can better solidify your role in the company? All these different things that you can do that are really going to help advance yourself and advance the practice using that extra time that ChatGPT gives you. So that's basically it from my presentation.
Hey. That was awesome.
So in the conference, we basically spent the last 20 minutes. I had an assignment for each table with a scenario, like pretend that you are a healthcare company that is trying to drive new business in this particular subset of customers. How would you write a 5-email campaign in order to help drive traffic? And I would basically have a different assignment for each table. And then they would have 20 minutes to basically just play around in ChatGPT, iterate, and really just kind of get their hands dirty and playing around with it and seeing what they come up with. And then just walking around the room, seeing what they were coming up with and helping where people might get stuck. So ultimately, that's really what it is. I don't think anyone starts out the gate being an expert on this. I certainly don't in any way claim to be. It's more just I dedicate the time to messing around with it and learning what I can and then sharing what I learn.
Hey, Lauren, one thing that I've noticed is I've written a story using ChatGPT or created a story using ChatGPT, and I'm going through, like, I was on the interview, the transcript, right, is what I loaded in, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember the customer saying that. And even though I put in the transcript, it took what the customer said and created vastly different customer quotes. So then I had to go back in. I'm like, now I always say use only direct quotes taken from the transcript from these people, whoever the customers may be. That was one thing that stood out to me as, surprising, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so long as you're aware of that, you can also use that to your advantage, because sometimes the ChatGPT output can actually be more eloquent than what your customer actually originally said. And so
Totally.
if it makes them sound better and they sign off on it, all the better.
Completely right. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I used it when I've used it. It actually the quote was actually more coherent. It summarized like 12 lines of a quote into like 2 sentences. I was like, yeah, this is really good. And then they signed off on it. So it's like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, take this ramble and turn it into a usable soundbite.
but that also gets to your point where I've used it is it's also important to go back and look at the original source to make sure it doesn't make up stories about, things that happened or that they did. Like, we increased our business 300%. It's like, no, they never said that.
Let's see what else. Yeah, this was really great, Lauren. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having me.
Anybody else have any questions they wanted to talk about? I see Caitlin had some responses.
Oh, I was just saying the same thing happened to me yesterday. And the quote it created said, "We've been orchestrating a symphony of user reviews." And I was like, he was a quirky guy, but I don't think he said it quite like that. And so that's when I was like, I need to double check this. And so I found if I added the word like verbatim quotes, it then pulled actual quotes from my transcript, but it made me laugh.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Lauren, do you have any cheat sheets or anything? Like Christine posted with the personas and context and tasks. Do you have any like cheat sheets that kind of summarize maybe some of the tones or anything like that you would think of?
I don't have any offhand. I tend in a lot of my customer facing stuff, I want to keep the tone friendly and casual. And so that tends to be more consistent with what I'm asking it to give out. I obviously would be asking for a different type of tone if I were presenting to a community of attorneys or surgeons or morticians. I'm sure they probably don't want like fun and happy and friendly for that. But if I were to, and a lot of it is also what I'll do for just kind of theater stuff to learn, okay, if I were trying to master a Cajun accent for whatever reason, like give me this block of text and then spell it out phonetically so that I can learn to mimic what that sounds like. I've done that a few times, but as far as having anything in a kind of neat little, like, here's your cheat sheet for how to speak like a Cajun, or, you know, how to use the, you know, the mid-Atlantic fancy accent, I don't have that. Maybe that's something over my vacation that I can put together.
No, you don't have to work over your vacation. Not for me. I'll let it slide this time. I had something before, but I don't think I still have it. I tend to, you might all think this is funny, but I tend to still have like some psychological issues with ChatGPT. So one, if I go in and I create content and I keep telling it how to edit it, I feel like I'm wasting content. And then two, my most common prompts are things like, how do I say this and make it sound more professional? And, or what are alternatives for this word? Give me a longer list of suggestions.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like I do that so often that I start to think, how stupid are you? Like, that this is what you use ChatGPT for.
I actually used it for my review. So part of our performance review is you have to write a self-assessment, and like, man, those are hard. It was like, okay, so I wrote what I was gonna say, and then I uploaded it. I said, okay, have this, you know, make this sound as professional as possible, strip out any of the emotion to it, and, you know, find that balance between matter-of-factly listing the accomplishments and not sounding braggy, and still providing opportunity for growth. And it did, and it was super, super helpful that way.
So
I'll have it with peer reviews.
I was just gonna say, if you're on the premium version of ChatGPT, and I don't know if it's in the free one, so I'm sorry if it's not, but there's a function where you can put custom instructions in the settings, which you can tell it how you want it. So instead of you always having to tell it what you need, you can say, talk like, or be, you are a, and you can find it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people you can find online, YouTube videos and things. So you can set it up already to be, which I know is scary maybe for some content writers, but you could say like, I am a content writer who likes the Oxford comma, you know, and you can kind of build out the whole thing, right? And use data and use statistics, and you kind of give it all the instruction. Then whatever prompt you do, it will use that custom instruction, but you can turn it on or off from the settings in ChatGPT if you so decide.
Yeah, somebody's going to come up with a ChatGPT that whenever you do multiple prompts like that, it's going to be like, how dumb are you? Do you want to go back to like kindergarten? And people will love it, because that's just the society we have today.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet you it's already out there. If you scratch a bit, I'm sure someone's already.
Yeah, I told my husband at one point, I'm like, we should write a GPS, like create a GPS app that works, but when you screw up, it's like, is this why your parents don't like you? Like, it says like me.
Well, I was actually kind of joking with my wife because I'm trying to lose weight. So saying like, do you really need that donut, Adrian?
I know that when Tom, I don't even know if TomTom is still around. I think they're still around. When TomTom was like really in, you know, was really in its groove, it had a whole bunch of celebrities record
Oh, yeah, it's true. I remember that. Yeah, it's like Arnold giving directions.
He had
Turn
Arnold
right! Turn right now!
turn right now. My favorite was Mr. T. It was like, turn left, woo! I said turn left.
Oh boy.
I do remember that. I
Yeah.
think I downloaded a whole bunch of them. I had TomTom for a bit.
Wow. Okay, well, this is the end of our call for this week. Next week, we are going to be talking about customer marketing in how it can impact onboarding and adoption, like right after sales. So what part can we have in that? So that's kind of interesting. There's several people in the community that work at bigger companies along with Caitlin that are interested in it, but she's going to be coming to a later session on that. And so this was great, Lauren. I'm sure it's going to be very popular, and I will let you know when I get it up. And then thank you for coming, everybody, and see you next time.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.